My man is playing Twister.
He knotted him up like a cherry stem.
Gotta admire fine craftsmanship when it is in front of you. Let's get right to it. North London derby. Arsenal hosting Tottenham. And you know, obviously you worked with Carter, but you know Carter's a Tottenham supporter. Okay, cool. So I mean, I just want to make
sure. And you wouldn't know it from first glance because he seems like such a smart and well emotionally bound guy. He just...
You know what, man? It's just like we mentioned earlier about missing Bad Bunny. We all make mistakes. And Carter, just how long have you been supporting Tottenham?
21 years.
21 years? What? I thought you were going to say like 4 or 5 or whatever. 21.
Yeah, you know what? 21, actually 21 is better because if he had started 4 or 5 years ago, he just knows he likes suffering and there's nothing ahead. Like 21's like, oh, I'm young, impressionable.
Right.
And you just ride it out because there's loyalty there.
Exactly, yeah. Because if 4 or 5...
Blind loyalty,
4 or 5
but loyalty
years,
nevertheless.
You think like, oh, this guy, he likes women stepping on him with high heels. You know what I mean? Like he's really into some real masochistic stuff.
He's one step above the New York City rug guy that used to like lay out in Soho. You just walk over him and just,
I'm like, all right, producer Carter's into some kinky stuff. I ain't here to judge.
Listen, GGG.
But no, this game ends 2-1. Arsenal win this game. And yeah, a lot of controversy. And we have to probably, the Arsenal's first goal. I mean, I think you sort of need luck from time to time. Tottenham got the deflection, off of Saliba, the shot from Son, but the goal on the corner,
Gabriel
Magalhaes, and this is corners and set pieces have become this thing.
Arsenal excellence, yeah.
Where I think it's it's also a strange thing that it's become Arsenal's brand, right? And I think fans are embracing it. Some fans are just like, it's annoying, but like it gets us victories or whatever.
Listen, a win is a win, but yes, like it's great to be. Me personally, I love set pieces.
Okay,
I really do. I just,
said no one ever. Right?
I do. I love set pieces. A lot of the goals that I was able to score were off of set pieces because one, I don't mind going in hard in the box.
Right.
I would score a lot of header goals.
All right,
and also just know where you can run and slot. Also, just like get your little diggy elbows in early. But no, kudos to them. Like perfectly placed corner.
Yeah.
Just swung in and then play the ricochet.
But should it have even been a corner? It probably shouldn't have been a corner. I mean, look, I'm not here. I'm the neutral here. And
are you?
And if this is my team, I just say, you chalk it up to the game. And
your team is going to get beat this week.
Okay, slow it down. But who was it that the ball hit off of? Was it Trossard?
Trossard.
And Porro, he strikes the ball and it hits off of Trossard and it goes out on him. It shouldn't have even been a corner, and then it leads to a goal. But the problem is with Arsenal is that when there are set pieces now, it is like, yo, this might be a goal. I saw this. I seen a video. What is it? Rory Delap, the guy that does the super long throw-ins.
Yes.
They used to score. Where'd he play? Was it Southampton or whatever? I forgot what team. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So they were so worried about the Rory Delap throw-ins that there were a few moments that goalkeepers used to instead of clearing the ball out for a throw-in whenever there was an opportunity, instead of a corner, instead of it going over the end line, goalkeepers used to hit it over the end line just so they could have a corner versus a long throw-in because they were so terrified of those because they would lead to goals. And then Arsenal is becoming this team where you just don't want them to have corners.
Of course not, but like Solanke own goaled it.
Okay,
because it pinged off him at the last second. And
sure.
It just goes to show there's so many opportunities in a set piece. So I appreciate that. But yeah, like
Carter, from your perspective, obviously it sucks to lose, but for that particular play, for it to go to that corner when it wasn't a deserved corner, how did you feel about it?
I think we talked about this before the show. as a Tottenham fan, I can't sit and be like, we lost because of a corner. Like, we got outplayed almost the entire game. So I'm not gonna sit here and like act like we didn't deserve to lose. But I also don't understand why VAR can't spend 8 seconds looking at that and then tell the ref to make the right call. Like on any corner, not just that corner. Like that feels like that rule can easily be changed and implemented.
Yeah, it seems like a part of the game that shouldn't be that vague, right? Like it clearly went off of an Arsenal player, and then they get the reward of getting the corner and getting the opportunity to have a chance on goal. So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't see the game as they got completely outplayed, but it didn't feel that way to me.
They did.
Okay.
They did.
Did you watch the first 30 minutes? The first 30 minutes were
I felt
brutal.
bad. I legitimately felt bad for Big Ange because he doesn't even deserve this suffering at this point. I know that he always has this very like solemn like post games that are just very reserved to begin with, but that man is already broken. I know he keeps promising, second season trophy has been my consistent way forward, but buddy, I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge Tottenham that harshly with like all the injuries and they
right,
look
but
a
like
little
it's
bit.
also how he expects them to play, how he wants players to be used. That isn't necessarily like the one-to-one ability that they have.
Right. I mean, without Van de Ven, they're lost, bro. That dude
but
is,
like
he's
again,
the best player,
it shouldn't come down to one single player.
Sure.
Okay. Like Son managed to get that goal. That was a bad moment of Arsenal defending. It was actually abysmal, quite frankly. You had like 6 of them in the box, just arms behind their back, worried about a handball, and not a single one stepped up to Son, and he managed to slot that. So,
but we really gotta talk about the highlight of the game, which was this moment, which was Trossard with the Cruyff turn of all Cruyff turns, and we're looking at the image now, and Pedro Porro, he is just a pretzel. He is twisted. My man is doing Pilates.
He's literally, no, that's a yoga pose. And that would literally be Sleeping Hero if he tips his body back just a little bit more.
Man, this was, I mean, this was, you see plays like this. You see this like in the NBA. You see a crossover. Oh, my man, they made him touch the earth or whatever. But I was legitimately worried that Porro's like knee exploded. I was like, actually, I mean, I love this sport. I love great plays, wild touchdowns, great dunks. I love this. A player getting embarrassed because of the just supreme skill from the
getting someone sat, sending them for a snack. All those things are wonderful.
And it's like that's the fun and entertaining part of the game. And if Porro's knee exploded, I'd be like, come on, bro, don't do that. Like, we're trying to have a good time.
Because like had his stud stuck in a different way,
right?
It's a wrap. You're at least doing a meniscus right here.
He was, and this is just was a beautiful and fun moment of just, I think, all sports, but of this game in particular, because this is
North London Derby.
North London Derby at the Emirates. You're the opposing player. Like, nobody wants you to succeed at all, right? Except the small section of 2,000 fans in there. And not only did he get completely cut up, and then and we're seeing his hand on the ground above his ankle. My man is playing Twister.
Right hand red.
Right. Okay, right hand corner flag, left leg penalty spot. It is brutal. I'm like, how you can't? No, you're not supposed to bend like this. And but he's also, after it happens, he looks like he is in pain. He's on the ground for like a long time. The referee has to stop the game because you're only supposed to stop the game for head injuries.
Yeah.
But the ref was like, yo, Trossard, you crossed them up so hard that I gotta ignore all the IFAB rules and we gotta stop the game.
He knotted him up like a cherry stem. Like, how do you just leave that on the field?
This is rough, dog.
Quite frankly, if I were Trossard, I would have this framed and just like hung in my home.
That's right. We had Carling Jackson on the show recently. She goes by the athlete artist, and she paints.
Carling, paint this. This will be your Sistine Chapel.
She painted like Emile Smith Rowe celebrating his first goal. This is the next painting right here for Arsenal. This is why. And I was thinking, I'm like, if I was Porro, what's the best scenario? Like, you are in pain. Do you lay down? Do you try to get up quickly and walk it off? Like, nah, he didn't really get me like that. But his whether it's choice or whether he was just absolutely just forced, he just laid on the ground and then he went on the sideline. And I'm like, as soon as I saw him walking, I'm like, oh, miracles are real. Like, this is like, you can recover from. My man just tore his AC. I thought he was gonna do a Ricky Pooge, bro. Oh, no. This was like on top of the loss, like whatever. This is. I just think this is not being talked about enough. This is crazy. This is like, you can't let this happen, especially in a derby like the North London Derby. I don't know, bro. I don't know how you recover from this. Your teammates, they're gonna say something. How do you go back to the locker room? I don't know. It's such an incredible moment. The great turn. I can't show it, but like the turn from Trossard was fantastic.
I wish we could play this, because even the ball from Miles Lewis-Skelly, the whole thing is beautiful.
Yeah,
run it back at home for sure.
Also, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Arsenal fans, they just call him MLS.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen this, and it's sometimes I
call him that too. But I figured, like, hey, this is.
But I've been seeing Arsenal fans, tweeting and on Blue Sky and stuff, and they're like, "Let's go MLS," and I'm like, "Hey, hold on, Gunner blog, what are you talking about? you talking to me, or what? What are you supporting right now?" So
the kid.
No, so a big win. I mean, the goal from Trossard was great, and probably. People were excited about the Tottenham goalkeeper Kinski.
Kinski is actually, he's quality.
Not in that one.
Sorry,
he probably should have stopped that one. The ball took a little bit of a bounce, but still, you're a Premier League goalkeeper. You probably should stop it. But
perhaps Spurs could defend.
Fraser Forster gonna stop that? Probably not either. But no. So
Vicario would stop it.
Okay, yeah, I agree. This was a game. I think if it was like full strength Tottenham and full strength Arsenal, I think it's not as lopsided, even though the score was only just 2-1. Because even Arsenal,
they both have these like injury epidemics right now, but I feel like Arsenal have been hit worse because they've been hit in more key players.
I disagree. I think Tottenham have been decimated way more.
No way.
I mean, I would say the Arsenal players are better. So the Arsenal players that are injured are better than the Tottenham players.
There are so many injured Arsenal players that Raz finally got a start.
Sure. I mean,
and that's not an edict on him. I like Sterling. It's just that he hasn't played in so long that he looked that rusty starting off. So it did a great disservice to him as a player for him to finally get the start now, where it's like he's been kind of just like sitting on the bench popping.
He looks terrible.
He's a step behind.
Yeah.
He's rusty. Literally, that's what you saw. And like anybody that has played and then like not played for a chunk of time and then come back where you're trying to actually compete and you just feel like you're tripping over your feet. You don't have the chemistry or rhythm. You don't know intrinsically by feel like where your wing is.
He doesn't look like an Arsenal player. I mean, it's
not
even about his ability like on the ball or whatever. He just like doesn't look like he knows exactly where to be. He doesn't make the runs that like they usually do like a sort of a 3-man, these triangles where Odegaard is kind of leading like, hey, get me the ball. I'm going to just take a one-touch pass as you're already running, even before the ball gets to me. Yeah. And Sterling just doesn't do that. He just doesn't have that.
Also, you don't have Saka. You don't have Nwaneri, who we had on the right wing. Right. Like, there's a number of players that were able to do that and move in these systems because they were regularly playing together and the rhythms were there. When you get thrown into the mix and everyone else has largely been playing together, it's a rough go. So I empathize.
Yeah, I just think, this could have been I think it could have easily been a draw. I thought Arsenal just didn't. This is not a win for Arsenal that gives me any real confidence outside of the fact that you want to beat your rival, but I thought they could have they could have scored a third, or more than anything, they should have scored a third and just brought a little bit of like calm to. But I think
agree.
they can't figure it out.
I think the bottom line is Arsenal needed to win this. I think that the pressure's been mounting on Mikel and what they can do, especially with the injuries. So they got the job done, and this moves them forward. That doesn't make it free and clear. It just means that a little bit of the pressure has been alleviated, and they move on.
Sure. Also, Manchester City, they were up 2-0 against Brentford, and then end up with a 2-2 draw. I mean, I'll ask the question: are they really? It's just seeming like they're not scaring anybody anymore. Even up to Phil Foden gets 2 goals, and he's had a very weird season. But I wouldn't say that they're necessarily done, but there's just something. It's just been too consistent of like. They're I think they've dropped something like 14 points in leading positions. I think I saw some stat somewhere.
They're missing big chances. They're not finishing. Their passing doesn't even look as clean as it previously did.
Totally.
Defensively, not as sound.
Too.
And then with the desire to leave of like, say, a Kyle Walker, you have like some backline issues that are just a glaring issue, especially when they've never found themselves in the position to be digging out like this.
Yeah.
Pep has had the luxury of managing a team that's been successful and then continuing that success. That's not to say that that's an easy task, but Pep hasn't been sort of in the pain cave like this where he has to find a way out. And I honestly think that it's a collection of players who are now lacking in confidence, but also in their own heads, Pep included. And they're kind of creating their own weird echo chamber. Right. That's not making it any better for themselves, but yeah.
Did you hear the rumor or reports? I don't know how accurate it is. That Pep and his wife of 30 years will be getting divorced. I don't know. It just I only bring it up. I'm like, is this affecting his him in some way? I'm sure it is.
I stay out of the personal lives of players, managers, and try to stick to the stuff on the field. But like. If this is true, then that certainly would be something that impedes your ability to do your job.
Yeah.
Any big life event like that, which is not overwhelmingly happy, is going to be a distraction. So this could be, if it's true, like thoughts and prayers to both of them. Like I hope your lives are great. But
at least we know who we can blame, and it's Pep's ex-wife. We can rationalize why Manchester City are having as much trouble as they are. The other result I want to talk about is Nottingham Forest against Liverpool. Nottingham Forest are after the Arsenal win, they're now in third place in the Premier League. But Chris Wood scores a goal, which is his 13th or 14th, I think, in the Premier League this season, which is just like, I don't know if you saw, JJ Bull from The Athletic. He's from Tifo Football. They do the animated thing.
Okay,
JJ
all you
Bull,
can say is Tifo. Tifo, I love you. Like, they are so enjoyable to me, and I'm a total nerd.
I should just play it because JJ did a song about Chris Wood. Have you heard this, Carter? The song is called if Chris Wood could, Chris Wood would, or something like that.
Oh my God. I haven't seen Tifo football content in this format. I've only seen their illustrations.
So this is a banger. And then beat drops. It's like so. JJ does these like like Mark Rebier, I think that's his name, the guy that does like the improvised music with like the little board thing, whatever. He goes at like Union Square.
You're so much better at names than I am. I'm like, oh, the guy with the thing, that guy.
The mustache.
Yeah.
And look at this, bro. Shout out to JJ.
In a kilt? Let's go, my guy. Come on. He can actually sing.
So he did. So
is he a musician? And I
think so. He did. Yeah, I think he's done like music and stuff like that. We were talking about it on the show. So go check out JJ Bull and this song. I think it's on his TikTok.
Now I have to go check out JJ Bull.
TikTok is gonna be available for like 4 more days because First
It'll
Amendment.
probably get extended because the Republicans are trying to buy it.
We hope.
Whatever.
We'll see what happens. But Chris Wood is getting songs made about him. So you love to see it. But Nottingham Forest, especially against Liverpool at home, I'm thinking like, all right, Nottingham, real cute. You had a fun little run. You're up in the top 4 with the big boys. But now it's Liverpool. Put them in their place a little bit.
They beat Liverpool.
They beat Liverpool, and they did it at Anfield. I believe they won 1-0. This was a them scoring early almost felt a little bit like, oh man, now they're gonna have to hold on for 78 minutes, something like that. It would have been really difficult. But they there's something that Nuno is doing there. I'm impressed with what they're able to do going forward, because it's like, you have a couple impressive players or whatever, and players like Chris Wood.
But also
Hudson-Odoi.
Players that play really well together as a team.
Right. And then defensively, that's really where it is remarkable what they've been able to do. The 2 center backs, Murillo and Milenkovic, who are just gigantic men in that back line, and also Ola Aina, who is he plays for Nigeria. Do you want to look it up? He's been popping up on my TikTok a lot because he does like a lot of just like content, like YouTube stuff or whatever. He did like he's from Nigerian. He was I saw him on a thing where he was like, those like British, they do those YouTube guys that do like dating shows, or like not the pop the balloon stuff or whatever, but they just do those, like the women are just like sort of casually flirting with the guys to try to see if they want to go on a date. There's a lot of these like
I'll have to learn about this.
But Olaina does these like during the season. And he's just like casual, and he's just balling out on Nottingham, and then also just being like a really fun content creator, like on the side.
That's why my blind spots are generally the outside lives of footballers.
Sure.
I'm like, I can tell you if they're left-footed, right-footed, like whatever. but
no.
If you ask me about what they're doing at home,
my For You page. This is why you can't take away TikTok from me. We're gonna have nothing to talk about on this show.
Do not discount Nottingham. Yes, they're thin, right? So they don't have the depth, but they're really solid defensively.
Yeah.
And as long as they don't get hit with injuries, knock on wood, Nuno has them playing like very back to basics, clean football.
Yeah. I mean, they cooked Everton a couple weeks ago, so I've been seeing it a little too more than I would like. But no, I think what Nottingham is doing is remarkable. The all the conversations earlier were about, are Chelsea in a title race, and now that Chelsea have been hit.
I think like if there's a thesis for this game, it's Nottingham Forest know what they have to do to get results where they can, and also Arne Slot is very capable of being super nimble and changing up tactically to see how to match.
Imagine Nottingham Forest win the league and Liverpool and Arsenal just watching them. That would be the most humiliating thing for both of those teams. That ends up...
As an Arsenal fan, I don't want that. I also live for these very romantic underdog storylines where they fight back from absolutely nothing, from just promoted a couple seasons ago. That's bananas.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about their goal differential. They're at 10, which is wild, because that's like not what we're used to seeing. They have a better goal differential than Manchester City, which again, for Nottingham Forest that had points deducted last season to be where they are right now is just absolutely remarkable. So credit to Nuno and the rest of the team, because it is for teams that have been deducted points, it's a little bit inspiring. Okay, so maybe Everton one day will be to learn the lesson.
Maybe you guys should hire Nuno. I don't know.
All right, we have to talk about Lazio. And as our Serie A expert, I'm glad you're here. This is literally one of the craziest things I've ever really seen. And if you haven't heard, let's just fill everybody in. So, Lazio, team in Serie A. one of the players, Tati Castellanos, who love, former NYCFC player. I wish he was playing somewhere else, but he's doing well there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we all know about their fan base and that they hold a lot of either fascist beliefs.
That's not to speak for the whole of the
right,
Lazio.
I know Lazio fans that are chill.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's marred by a large fascist, sometimes also classified as like neo-Nazi, ultras. And with that comes the Falconer, who this isn't the first time he's come into the scrutiny of the media.
We got to use our words wisely here.
He has, in the past, he's been an open supporter of Mussolini, which is wildly dangerous.
Not a great guy.
Just global political climate, not great, but also with like a third generation of Mussolini rising in the ranks in Italian government. It's a little bit worrying. Which we thought that was the biggest blight that there could be upon a Serie A club.
Because he got caught. He got caught doing a salute to fans while he was. Is it a falcon or an eagle? I think it's an eagle. It is a falcon.
It's a falcon.
What we're looking at right now, is that an eagle or a falcon? I think it feels like an eagle.
Because it's always
falcons are
called...
dark, right? they don't have the white hair, white head, yellow beak, right? I'm almost sure. So I think it's an eagle, but I think people have been confusing it with a falcon because we're used to seeing like the LAFC falcon guy. But I mean, please let us know. Any
I'm not into aviary. I'm not sure.
I'm trying to show it here and I can't exactly show it. Anyway, so he is in trouble. He got fired because. And there's nothing. These words have I think never really been said. But the bird handler here at Lazio got fired for sharing pictures and video of a penile implant that he had gotten and he was very proud of. He had posted that. He was excited about his new sex life and that it was going to be a lot better. And this is pretty crazy. I've never heard of anything like this. So you would think that's pretty wild. I read more into it. I don't know if you've seen these updates, Carter. So he got fired. And then after that, he went to the training ground. There's more to it, but he went to the training ground and barricaded himself in the training ground because he was upset that he got fired. So he's trying to protest his sacking, which is so already
pun intended.
But now the other thing that I read was that the person who gave him the penile implant is a Lazio doctor. Did you hear this?
Okay, this is a turn in the story that I had not seen, but to be fair, I wasn't trying to deep dive into the penile implant of the Falconer.
Who wants to? Nobody wants to. Yes. So this is what the rest of the article
La Zanzara
mentions. It says the operation was performed by urologist Gabriele Antonini, who was part of Lazio's medical staff and was also sacked by the club. The doctor used Bernabe, the Falcon guy, to get exposure, and in fact, he has received several requests to undergo these types of operations.
The fact that Lotito has to address this is so insane to me. Like, this should be framed. Save this. When the aliens come for us,
right,
put this in the time capsule.
It continues, says that Lazio said, our contracts state that whoever violates the club's ethics must leave, which is so crazy for a club that has so many neo-Nazi fans.
The biggest turn in the story is that he says he has an open relationship and has sex with multiple women. That's the most implausible part of this whole entire article.
He's like, why are you mad? My wife ain't mad. I'm just sharing pictures of my penile implant. So this is this is insane. And the wild thing here is that obviously I think he shared it And I think he might have shared it to like an Instagram, like close friends. And then it got out. That's because he said, he was like, no, I didn't. I shared it, but it wasn't meant to go to everybody. So somebody.
Or he DM'd it to someone and they were like, hey, light it up.
Yeah. He's like, I'm in an open relationship. My wife will allow me to have sex with you. Right.
Hey, check out my implant.
So as a internet like weirdo myself, I'm like looking on Twitter. I'm reading. I'm trying to
Find
research
the picture
and prepare for the story. And the picture pops up. The picture pops up. Obviously, I cannot show it. Nobody wants to see it, but I did see it, and I gotta say that doctor does some good work. All right, I'm just saying.
I'm gonna wash my ears out with soap.
I'm just saying, it like if he wanted to advertise, it was a good commercial because that thing was crazy.
The doctor said he wanted exposure, okay? He was like, let me give you the Magnum PI 580. I don't know. Like, what? Oh, God.
Yeah, impressive stuff. I'm not, it's obviously he shouldn't be sharing it. He shouldn't be a neo-Nazi. There's a lot of judgment I have
There's
over
layers
this man's life.
and layers and layers.
Barreau, yeah. I'm just saying, you gotta admire fine craftsmanship when it is in front of you. And boy, oh boy,
I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yes. I mean, look, it's but the reviews are in. I'm giving a positive review. I don't think he should have obviously shared it, but yeah. I mean, look, this is not something that the type of story that we see in football. And
was there a before and after?
I did. That's a great question.
Like, how are we judging the work? I'm just wondering.
The one thing I will say is that the pictures and video that he did share were so awkward and weird, which it's
so like every single peen pic every man has ever sent. No, I've never gotten one because I am classy.
So the video that he shared was like him in like on the hospital bed with like the doctor over him, and he has a full just straight up
TV remote for scale.
But it was like one of those things of like like almost like like a I don't know, like somebody showing you a car, like being like, look at this one. Like, look how
it's great. A bouncing baby penile implant. Look.
So like the doctor was so happy about it and he was smiling. It was just such a strange way to show your work with the patient or whatever. Very, very weird. But again,
I didn't even take a picture with my surgeon after we did my knee surgery. I'm just saying, and that is craftsmanship, right?
I
there.
agree. That deserves like you can frame that picture. This I don't know what this guy's gonna do. Anyway, all right. Should we just move on? Let's get to our conversation with Casey Stoney. We spoke to her yesterday. We talked to her about the new role with Canada, the women's soccer team, and yeah, we obviously asked about the drones. So we had a fun conversation with her. So here it is. Here's our conversation with Casey Stoney.
Introducing Daily Draw, the latest free-to-play game from Yahoo Sports. Daily Draw gives you a pack of 6 prediction cards every day based on the day's biggest sporting event. Download or update the Yahoo Sports app on the Apple App Store or Google Play and join the action with Daily Draw today.
What an absolute honor, Christian. I mean, when we talk about superstars that come on the show, I'm usually making it up to make the guests feel good. Right now, this is for real.
No, the resume matches up with the caliber of guests that we have right now. We are absolutely thrilled to have on our show, this is also one of those like, are you sure you're on the right show? Somebody must have tricked you, but we are honored to be joined by the new head coach of Canada Women's Soccer, the one and only Casey Stoney. Casey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, the audience is already into it. I don't know if you heard them.
I did hear it, yeah.
This is incredible. It's an absolute honor for us. This is a big gig This is a big opportunity. I've seen a lot of the reports and heard already how you've spoken about getting this opportunity. But please let us know the sort of the excitement, the challenge that is ahead of you, and what you're most sort of excited about with this particular job right now.
Yeah, you're right. It's a big job. It's a privilege to be a head coach of Canada Soccer and this team in particular, because there's some incredible players in it. I think everything I've heard about the Canadian culture is fantastic. I've played here in 2015 in the World Cup, and I know the cities and the diversity of the cities are incredible. So I think the excitement is we've got 2 years to grow into a World Cup and try and do something really, really special that hasn't been done before.
I mean, this is a massive, massive gig, as Christian mentioned. Obviously, you have a breadth of experience that prepares you for it. But one of the things we keep hearing about Canada Soccer, not just from the men's, not just from the women's, but in general, is this sort of coming back from, the depths of this debt that they had and the inability to raise funds. When you were considering taking the job, was that something you were thinking about? Just sort of how can you be effective? We've heard Jesse Marsh bring this up a couple times. How can you be effective without available funds?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I probably interviewed the organisation as much as they interviewed me.
Right. Show me your bank statements.
Yeah. And obviously, one of the big things is making sure that you got the resources to be able to be successful. And having spoken to Kevin, the CEO, he's assured me that we will have the support, we will have the resources in place. That equity is a thing and parity is a thing across men's and women's teams, which is fantastic and doesn't happen in many other organisations. So I feel confident that we'll have what we need when we need it to be able to support the team to be successful.
And when you're having those conversations, and I just want to make it clear, like this show is not made. We're not here to ask gotcha questions or to make anyone look bad necessarily. But
the
obviously,
we know is that whole we got your nose joint.
Okay. We're very silly. Yeah. I have a 1.5-year-old. I mean, that's as silly as it gets. But the drone situation, I know obviously this is something you have to answer for, even though you have had nothing to do with it. But the conversations when you're interviewing for the job, there's also that all right, what the hell happened? How much of this? How do we get past this so that we can just move on with the program and I can just do my job?
Well, I think number one, hiring me allows you to move forward. I think that's really important. No one can ever question my integrity or my principles. I think I've lived by that, my playing career and my head coaching career. And I think obviously I asked him a question. I don't get it. I don't understand why you do it. I don't understand what you gain from it. It's not for me. I want to win the right way. I want to win, but I want to win the right way. And I want to win because we've done well, we've prepped well, and we've played well. So, yeah, and I think big thing was there was an extensive investigation going on when I first had conversations, and that investigation, did what it needed to do. People were held accountable and responsible, and we can clean things up from here and we can move forward.
I mean, obviously, you're walking into a team with a ton of experience, and you're losing a big player in Christine Sinclair, who's retiring. You're going to be able to sort of lead in this new era. You got Jordan Heidema, you got Michelle Prince, you got so many stars on this team or potential stars. What was it about this gig, or what was it about the squad that made you say, I want to be the next coach of the Canadian women's soccer team?
Well, I look at what they've done over the last year, and I'm like, they were docked 6 points and still got out of the group.
Right.
There's a hell of a lot of resilience in there. They can win games. They know how to keep clean sheets. The talent pool is really, really good. The pathway and some of the players coming through are excellent as well. So I just think there's such a blend of experience in youth right now that is so exciting. There's some attacking players, if we give them a bit of freedom and free them up a bit, that can create and score more goals. And I just think with a little bit of help, a little bit more progressive play, I think we've got a chance of doing something really special.
I don't want to necessarily get too stuck in the past, but obviously your former job at the Wave didn't end the way you wanted, the way a lot of fans wanted. I I saw the interview that you had done with Kristen Press and Tobin Heath, and you did share a lot about what of just that experience and losing your job in those circumstances. Even watching that interview, I'm like, I could tell she wants to yell and be a little bit more angry about this.
Where's the bleep button?
But the what I'm curious about is that experience and it going the way it did. What did how does it inform you as a as a coach now? What did you learn from it, and how is it helping you going forward with the Canada soccer job?
Well, one thing it didn't do is put me off. It could have put me off being in head coaching because it was such a life-changing event for me and my family, the way it was handled. But it took me a couple of months of being angry, and then I reflected, and I'm just super proud. I know that I can accomplish things. I got an expansion team into the semi-final of the playoffs in year one. We won the league in year two. We won a cup. Like, I know how to build a team. I know how to win games. And it gave me the confidence that, irrelevant of what happened at the end, I'm not sure it was all about results, to be honest, but I know that I can help teams develop and grow. So I walked away from it with lots of lessons of, I felt I built a really good culture. I built a successful culture. I did things the right way as well. Like we didn't compromise our values to do it. We didn't compromise our integrity to do it. We tried to do it the right way. And I learned that probably alignment between yourself and leadership is really, really important. And that's probably one of the reasons I took the job, is I'm very aligned with Kevin and his values.
Obviously, the way it ended in San Diego, probably not the way we all would have wanted. But talk to me a little bit about the way it started. You first of all, an honor to talk to a former Arsenal player. As a big Arsenal fan myself. But you've seen the WSL and the game in Europe. Really, it feels like 10 years ago, feels like 100 years ago, the way it's growing right now. They're selling out the Emirates. Many of these teams are selling out their home stadiums as opposed to a secondary stadium. But I feel like NWSL was really the first to really impress in the women's game. And you got to see an expansion team absolutely fill a stadium and have this massive fan base. For you, talk to me a little bit about what the game was like when you played to where it is now.
I remember playing, obviously, at Arsenal and at Chelsea, and you were lucky if you got 1,000 fans there, in big games. And whilst I was home, went to the Emirates and watched the Chelsea-Arsenal game. And I took my kids because I was like, I want to take my kids to see a game, walk down the streets at Arsenal. And it felt like you were walking down to a men's game. All the stalls were open, the half and half scarves were out, which I don't like them, but they were out.
Good there. Don't buy them.
And it was just a proper event, 40, 50,000. And I was saying to my girls, this, I played for these and this never happened. So to be part of that's really cool. And it's just grown exponentially. And I think the key part about me going to San Diego was to be part of a team where everything is driven just for that women's team. So you're a standalone, your club, your crest, your identity. You're not sharing any resources. You're not playing second fiddle to anybody. And what the club was able to achieve in such a short space of time and grow the fan base and, fill stadiums and sign world-class players was outstanding.
Yeah. When it comes to maybe I'm curious about your thoughts on NWSL. We hear the growth has been spectacular, and same thing with WSL and more fans. I mean, the Wave had what was it? I think the top 2 jersey sales and kit sales. So when it comes to marketability and interest and excitement, that is there. But then you also hear these really challenging and difficult storylines, especially with the Wave, and you hear with other clubs. Like when it comes to just the equitability, when it comes to just running a business in a fair way, where the employees also feel respected and honored, where do you see that going and the improvement there? Because I feel like we're still falling short a little bit.
Yeah, I think on the jersey sales, it helps when you've got Alex Morgan in your team. That definitely helps. I think when it comes to any club, I think the hiring processes are really important. Putting people in key positions that are qualified to do their job. For me to get a coaching job in the NWSL, they're going to make the pro license a prerequisite. Like, you have to be the highest you possibly can be qualified, and rightly so, because that's what the players deserve. Yeah. But what are the prerequisites for a general manager or a president or a director of football? Like, what are those prerequisites? What is their history of work? What is their knowledge? Because they're some of the most important positions within a club. They influence the entire club, everybody in it. And if you don't have the knowledge or experience, then you're not really putting people in positions to be successful. And every business is about people. People first. People make the world go round. So if you don't go into it with a people first values and culture, then you're never going to be successful. And I felt like we created that on the sporting side in terms of the team that we created. So I'm proud of what I accomplished. Obviously, stuff has come out since I've left that I was completely unaware of. And the game needs to be rid of that. It's not healthy.
What I just want to add one thing. Like this comes up on our show often because I mean we cover NWSL and MLS, and we're always curious: is it something where there are more transgressions in the women's game, or is it that in the women's game there's less? It's less tolerated and it is reported more. So is it a sporting thing where this happens in men's sports and then maybe the culture, the toxicity doesn't allow for men to talk about it, or does it happen less? I'm curious about your opinion on that.
It's hard for me to probably give you a balanced opinion because I don't work in the men's game, right. But I think if I'm honest, like the women's game has been like, unfortunately, like there's been a lot of people that maybe aren't good enough to go in the men's game that come in the women's game, or don't have the right agenda that come in the women's game, like, and are able to stay in it for too long because we accept mediocrity. Whereas I don't think the men's game would accept that mediocrity, and men might stand up more in the moment against those things. But I'm sure things happen in organisations all over the world, not just in sport. But right. I think it's positive that the women now feel like they've got a platform to speak out and stand up and say, well, no, this is just not happening anymore because I shouldn't be treated this way and it shouldn't be this way. And I should be able to perform my job to the best of my ability and be authentically me without facing the challenges that the sport has provided for them in the past.
Okay. Absolutely. I want to ask about, someone like yourself who's played in Europe, managed in America and sort of done all of those things. I want to kind of get your idea now being in Canada. I know they got the Northern Super League, which is great, right? Christian's wearing a Canadian Premier League kit, actually a throwback Canadian Premier League kit at this point. They're going to change their name to York United. But talk to me a little bit about the game. One of the things that I hear a lot about the women's game is that the Champions League is still a bit of a draw when it comes to Europe, even though the leagues are nowhere near as competitive as NWSL. And then also, that might actually be a benefit because your stats look pretty good if you're an Aitana Bonmatí and you're playing for Barca. Talk to me about how that balances out and how does the U.S. compete with something like that when we don't have the opportunity to play in a Champions League?
It's definitely been, obviously, when I was trying to recruit players at Wave, it was definitely a consideration for players that we were going for. Like, they want to play in the Champions League. And I'd say to them, like, go and watch Lyon play, see how many they play in front of week in, week out, and see that there's just no one there, And as much as women's games, it is growing and it's becoming more positive, but certain clubs, I'd say I was part of a club that, got 22 to 30,000 every single week, no matter what. And the fan base was incredible. But then you go to other clubs in the NWSL, and they're not all like that. But I would say generally the NWSL is growing at a faster rate in terms of fan bases and stadiums being filled up than most other leagues. It's hard to compete with the Champions League. If a player wants to play in the Champions League, they want to play in the Champions League. But I would have always said to a player, you come and play in the NWSL, you're going to be better prepared for international football because it's more like international football in terms of the pace of play, the physicality, the way transitions happen. Obviously, I tried to coach a little bit differently than that, but it was very much akin to international football. And I think with the NWSL now coming in, I think it just gives another platform and another space for players to play competitively, especially for Canadians, be able to play at home. I think that's an incredible place, and I think it's going to grow from strength to strength, and I think they're hiring some really good coaches, and I think that's going to really bode well for the Canadian game.
And as far as the have you gotten a chance to speak to players? I don't know what the connection has been like so far, but I just want to give you a heads up because one of our dear friends of the show is the goalkeeper Kalen Sheridan, who you obviously are very, very familiar with. But I don't know if this has come up too often, but we discovered when she did our show a couple years ago that she has a fear of buttons. I don't know if you. Okay, so you have heard this. All right, cool. So,
it's in her contract rider.
Yeah.
So we just for any of the tracksuits and warm up or anything, we need to avoid all buttons
all skippers.
Yeah, I did have to get her to repeat it when she first told me. I was like, that must be difficult. Like, how do you wear jeans and stuff? Like
right. It's just straight up, like sweatpants and tie
only. This is when we found out, we're like, is this common in Canada? Is this what happens?
Okay.
I think it's unique to Kaylin. Thank you.
Are there any particular? I don't know necessarily. It's like a teacher picking their favorite student. But are there any players that you're really excited to be coaching on this Canada women's team?
I think generally I just want to get involved with the players now. Like, I think there's some super talent. Obviously, we had Jade Rose in at Wave for a few weeks training, and I was really excited about her potential. So I'm really, really excited to work with her. And, all the players really in terms of just, can we just take their game to the next level? How can we identify what they already do that's really well, and then how can we just layer onto that?
All right. This is our just a last question. This is from our Patreon. Our Gully Squad is the Cooligans supporters group, and this is from Steve Stupka. He just asked a question. It might be a little controversial, but Steve just asked a question. He says, "What is Casey going to do for work when the U.S. annexes Canada?" It's a very strange.
He told you.
I don't know. Look, we're in America. You are obviously from the UK. We don't know what's going on either. There's just a lot of rhetoric that is not necessarily. It's not the competitive banter that we look for in this sport. It's a little too problematic.
My suggestion is Canada builds a wall. Keep us out.
Keep us out.
It's really not.
We're the problem. All right. Well, okay.
Like, I'm just gonna smile. I'm not saying
that's a perfect answer, Coach.
Have you figured out where you're gonna live? Have you figured out which city? Are you more of like a?
No, I think we're gonna stay in San Diego for now.
Okay. All right. Make that decision later. Very nice.
All right. Well, Casey Stoney, we wish you the best. Obviously, with your team and in a new country, we wish you the best. Obviously, unless you're playing the U.S. So I mean, with all due respect, but you know what? I'm excited for even for you. If maybe when you play England, it's gonna be an interesting.
Be some good rivalry.
Yeah, it's going to be very great. Casey Stoney, thank you so much for joining us. It is an absolute honor. And yes, we wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Shout out to Casey Stoney. Thank you so much for Canada Soccer and Casey Stoney for joining us. That was really, really cool. A huge opportunity for us, especially to talk to a coach that is just getting started, and
a coach who's both getting started and has proven successful.
100%.
She knows her way around a challenge. I'm excited to see what she does for Canada.
Yeah, I loved her personality as well. There was a authoritative confidence that we told her before we started, like, hey, we're comedians or whatever, and she wasn't like. Yeah, cool. I love talking to comedians. But she wasn't like uninterested either. She was just like, all right, I'm gonna see how this goes. And then like she like casually like loosened up towards the end of the thing. But you could tell the seriousness of because I think with what Canada went through at the Olympics and everything, you could tell that it's like she's also they also put her out in front to do a little bit like crisis management, right? She has to like be like, hey, look, we're not like that anymore. So we were managing of like, how do we make jokes and also let her do her job and be serious about it?
She's
So I think
very smart.
Yeah.
And she was one of my favorite coaches to talk to on coaches calls ahead of matches because she's so good at just dividing out what their mission is, how they're going to do, how they're tactically going to roll out, what they need to do. Her and Bevianez are my two favorites from NWSL. Just very good at articulating what they want done and just deep diving into tactics. Really fun.
Love it. All right. Let's wrap up with some MLS chat. We have to talk about a couple transfer rumors that have been happening, and where this off seasons in MLS are usually like, it's the winter transfer window, so it usually doesn't often provide wildly exciting rumors or news most of the time. But holy smokes, what is this? Neymar is apparently in preliminary talks with the Chicago Fire to join them. What?
Maybe now they'll win the World Cup.
This is Bastian Schweinsteiger couldn't do it. Neymar is going to be the one that takes them to the mountaintop. This is, I saw this rumor yesterday, and initially I'm like, all right, whatever. Look, this is MLS jumping the shark in January. No reason to pay any real attention to this. And then Tom Bogert of Give Me Sport writes about it, and it essentially says that it's very preliminary. The Chicago Fire have Neymar's rights, his player rights, which obviously, of course they do. Like, why wouldn't they?
Those discovery lists, I know on one hand they should literally be just like erased and deleted for all of eternity, but at the same time, they are so entertaining. They're a part of MLS lore at this point, where it's like, wait, how are they on your discovery list? Because we put them there.
Which is just, it's just more like, goofy MLS stuff. But the article goes on to say, sources stress the early nature of the talks and that the deal is complicated and difficult because of Neymar's stature in world football and potential financial requirements, of course, right? Sources say Chicago are prepared to do a deal in the region of what Inter Miami did for Lionel Messi in terms of salary, around $20 million a year plus sponsorship bonuses.
Yeah, but he's not Messi.
He's not Messi, but he's not Messi, right? He's I mean,
listen,
one of the closest things. It's Neymar.
One of the closest things? No. I'd say if we're going to talk about like upper echelon self bubble of business that can just continue to pick up sponsorships, it's like him and Ronaldo. Right.
I mean, they're basically the GDPs of small countries.
Yes.
Both of these guys.
Yes. I mean, we joke, but yes.
Yes, yeah, 100%. But Neymar, look, he's not the same caliber, but again, very, very popular. Would he make as much money as Messi? No, he's not. But
that's what I'm saying. Like there would need to be certain.
But the main thing here, the Chicago, let's be for real. If he goes to the Chicago Fire, I want to do like I don't know what's a bet that would be humiliating enough. I'll wear a Liverpool full kit. Whatever. Like
I will order you the socks.
This is one of the. There's no way he goes to the Chicago Fire. With all due respect, we have a lot of Fire friends. Love the Chicago Fire. Been to games. Lovely people. Lovely organization. There's no way, logically, rationally, that he goes to the Chicago Fire. He wants to play for Inter Miami. And I don't even imagine any other. It's gonna be
I could see him going to LA because that man loves Vegas.
Okay, yeah. Again, a club like that,
like he should. If he were like, I don't know, Britney Spears, he should have like a residency at Las Vegas where you just go and high five Neymar.
Right. It's him next to the wax figure, and you got to get the right one, right? This is. I would love this as a fan of Major League Soccer, and I would love to just go to an NYCFC game and Neymar is playing. That would make me incredibly happy. But there's no way he goes to the Fire. Like I can't even from a business standpoint. Like again, a player like Neymar is going to want to go to a place where his marketing opportunities are completely maximized. Right.
Yeah,
and again,
optimized warm weather. I can't imagine him in like a snowsuit in Chicago in September.
Which again, I love Chicago, but I cannot see it happening.
I do like Chicago, but there's never been a time that I've had to travel there where I didn't end up buying an additional layer of clothing.
It's always intense. So the other move that popped up on the radar that is also pretty wild is Wilfried Zaha. Wilfried Zaha to Charlotte FC, which is another one.
He was on loan at Lyon, right? Yeah, on loan at Lyon, which was just like a failure.
Sure. Yeah. And the last few years have been odd for Zaha, because when he left Crystal Palace, and his whole career has sort of been this weird quagmire where everybody's like, we know he's good. We see the pace, we see everything, but it just doesn't formulate.
But that's what I mean. Like at some point, the talking points about a player, when they don't play out consistently enough, they're just no longer true.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, Zaha started at Arsenal, right? Where did he originally start out?
Why do I?
Oh, United.
United.
Yeah. Sorry, he went to United, and it didn't work out. Then he went on loan to Crystal Palace.
I was going to say, I remember him at Crystal Palace, bright as day, because I'm pretty sure I picked him for my fantasy team once because I was broke and allocated my funds.
And he's one of those guys where you're just like he's on Crystal Palace, and it's like, yeah, that's the guy at Crystal Palace and whatever. And he just couldn't ever break into that kind of like upper echelon. It just always always missed that like opportunity to be like a really important fixture in the league. But I gotta say, I saw this news, and obviously Dean Smith, the coach of Charlotte FC. I saw this and I'm like, I love this. I would love to see Wilfried Zaha in this league. I think he could do well. I think the less of a distraction of like media and all the the scrutiny. Mm-hmm. I think this is a great fit. The only thing, my only concern is just like, I've been to Charlotte and it's an artificial pitch and it's just like not the best. I mean, it's probably harder to attract really big name players playing on the artificial pitch.
Oh, I'm sure. It's also just like a smaller market. Yeah. So that's a challenge.
But they, the Charlotte FC fans, they show out. It is a good experience. I was there for the last time I was there was for the Inter Miami game, and obviously a ton of people were there for that game. But Charlotte ended up winning that game. But no, I love this move. I think this will be a great fit, and I think he could do some damage in Major League Soccer, and even a move like this kind of I think puts MLS in a more competitive in the transfer market. It just puts it's like, oh, Zaha went there. Like there's a little bit of like, oh, okay, maybe it isn't. We're getting further and further away from the retirement league kind of like trope. So yeah, but yeah, I hope it happens.
Slightly shifting from retirement league to you can't hack it anywhere else. Why don't you try MLS?
Sure, and it's
a good tagline.
And if you can't hack it here, then bro, you're done, bro. You couldn't even do it here. A couple other quick notable transfers to mention. John Tolkien from Red Bull goes to Holstein Kiel, which a team fighting relegation. I personally not super happy with the move. I hope it works out, but he's going to a team that's not doing that well. They obviously just beat Dortmund. But
yeah, which is wonderful. They obviously have conceded a ton of goals, which enter very, very good defender, young. No, I think that Bundesliga could be really good for John Tolkien. I think that the skill set that he has and the skills that they could help cultivate, especially now heels to flame because you want to not get relegated. Yeah. I think that it's going to be a really tough training ground, but I think he'll rise to the occasion.
I hope so. Luca Del Torre from, I believe, Celta Vigo is going to San Diego. That has also been reported. Another one where don't necessarily love the move that much. I don't know what expansion team he's leaving. A historic club to start something new, but he is going to obviously be starting and playing every game. So it's a good situation. Personally, I don't know who knows what San Diego, we literally have no idea what to expect. And then the other one that is kind of just a little disappointing, but James Rodriguez joins León in Liga MX. This is just one of like, come to MLS, bro. Why are you not here? I want to hug you, dog. I got to see James play once.
Baby, you should have slid that page behind like the agent brochure that's like, James.
I want to hug.
Come to, hey, why don't you get NYCFC to like.
Dude, he would, at the stadium being in Queens, bro, all the Colombians, this would be crazy. James, bro, feels like a player that should have been here years ago.
It's funny because you know how some players feel very Miami, LA.
Yeah.
James I could see in New York.
Yeah, this is he's in Leon. I think obviously he just wants to play in a place to obviously prep for the World Cup because Colombia is an actual real force and actually could do some damage in the World Cup in 2026. But bro,
God, that's next year.
Come home to Queens where you belong, bro. All right, let's wrap up there. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Shout out to Christine Cupo for subbing in per usual. Thank you again. Where just let people know where to follow you, where to support.
Yes, of course. I'm still on IG at least for now.
Sure.
At Miss Cupo. I am reluctantly still on X at C Cupo.
And you're on Blue Sky as well.
Absolutely on Blue Sky. Hit me up there.
Crushing it.
CBS Sports Golazzo Network, A3 Morning Footy. I'm the super sub everywhere, so tune in. But yeah, thanks for having me back.
Anytime. Everybody make sure you follow us on Blue Sky as well, soccercooligans.com on there. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. We have a new episode on our Patreon of No Cap Recap where we talk about we recorded in Miami with we talked about everything what happens in MLS Media Day. So it was a fun episode. So go to patreon.com/soccercooligans to tune into that. We'll be back on Monday with a new episode and we'll have Taylor Twellman. We can announce that. We did the vote on YouTube of what interview people wanted to see from Media Day. And for some reason, Taylor Twellman won outstandingly, alarmingly.
Wait, what were the options?
It was Keaton Parks, Fafa Pico, and Kevin Sullivan. And Taylor Twellman.
Fafa would have been a good one.
Fafa was great. I'm surprised. The first one people wanted to see was from Taylor Twellman.
Interesting.
So,
all right.
Hey, you can't argue. The free market decided. Okay, the elections. I'm not denying the results of the election. Like
were
some
the
other
elections
people.
rigged? Can I check your ballot box?
Okay. Let's storm the Apple TV store.
Blangola Capital.
The Apple store. All right, everybody. So be on the lookout for that on Monday. Thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you real soon. Take care, everybody. Peace.